Dae-Young Kim's hands trembled as he rewound the surveillance footage for the third time. The timestamp read 3:47 a.m. His private security room felt smaller with each passing second, the walls closing in as he watched the monitor. There she was again, Imani Daniels, the caregiver he'd hired 6 weeks ago, creeping down the hallway toward his mother's bedroom. In the green-tinted night vision, her movements looked deliberate, calculated. He'd suspected her for weeks. The missing jade pendant, his sister's warnings, the secretive phone calls. Everything pointed to one conclusion. This woman was using his dying mother to get close to his empire. Dae-Young had built his organization on reading people, on knowing when someone was lying. But watching her now, caught in the act, still made his stomach twist. She disappeared into his mother's room. Dae-Young leaned forward, his Rolex catching the monitor's glow. This was it. The proof he needed. His finger hovered over the intercom button that would summon his security team. One call and Imani Daniels would disappear. Not killed. He wasn't a monster, but gone. Thoroughly erased from their lives and warned never to return to Seoul. But something made him wait. The camera inside his mother's bedroom flickered to life. Young-hee Kim, 78 years old and fading from dementia, stood in the center of the room in her nightgown, tears streaming down her face. She was confused again, lost in her own home, calling out for Dae-Young's father who'd been dead for 5 years. And then Imani entered the frame. What happened next made Dae-Young's breath catch in his throat. Before we continue this story, I need to ask you something. Have you ever trusted someone completely, only to have doubt planted in your mind by others? Have you ever been so wrong about someone that discovering the truth shattered everything you believed? Drop a comment below and let me know. And if you're ready to see what Dae-Young discovered on that surveillance footage, hit that like button and subscribe because this story will challenge everything you think you know about trust, family, and love. Now, let's go back to where this all started. 6 weeks earlier, Imani Daniels stepped off the plane at Incheon International Airport with a carry-on suitcase and $15,000 worth of student loan debt crushing her shoulders. The Seoul air felt different, thicker, charged with possibility and danger in equal measure. She'd taken this job because the pay was obscene, almost suspicious. $15,000 a month to care for one elderly woman. Her nursing degree from Emory University had prepared her for the medical aspects, but nothing could have prepared her for the Kim family. The agency had been sparse with details. Wealthy family, very private, live-in position, absolute discretion required. They'd made her sign a non-disclosure agreement, so thick it had its own table of contents. Red flags everywhere, but Imani's father was dying back in Atlanta, and the experimental treatment his insurance wouldn't cover cost $30,000. She needed this job. She needed it desperately. A man in a black suit held a sign with her name at arrivals. He didn't smile, didn't introduce himself, just took her suitcase and led her to a Mercedes with tinted windows so dark she couldn't see inside until the door opened. The drive through Seoul was silent except for the occasional crackle of a radio she suspected was monitoring more than just traffic. The Kim mansion sat behind walls topped with cameras and what Imani's inexperienced eye thought might be decorative spikes, but were probably something far more functional. The gate opened with a hydraulic hiss that sounded too industrial for a residence. Gardens stretched on both sides of the driveway, immaculately maintained, but empty of people. No gardeners, no staff visible anywhere. Just perfection and silence. The man who'd picked her up finally spoke as they pulled up to the main entrance. Mr. Kim values privacy. You will see things. You will hear things. You will speak of nothing outside these walls. Understood. Imani nodded, though her throat had gone dry. Inside, the mansion was a study in contradictions. Traditional Korean architectural elements, beautiful wooden beams, paper screens, subtle earth tones, mixed with modern security features that wouldn't look out of place in a government facility. Cameras in every corner, heavy doors with electronic locks, and that persistent sense of being watched. A woman appeared, mid-30s, sharply dressed in a designer pantsuit that probably cost more than Imani's entire wardrobe. Her hair was pulled back, so tightly it looked painful. I'm Min-seo Kim, she said in perfect English with an accent polished at what Imani guessed was an Ivy League school. Dae-Young's sister. You're here for our mother. Yes, ma'am. Imani Daniels. I'm looking forward to. Our mother has dementia. Min-seo cut her off. Advanced. She has good days and bad days. Mostly bad lately. The last caregiver quit after 3 weeks. Couldn't handle the pressure. Her eyes traveled up and down Imani's frame, assessing, judging. You look young. I'm 28. I have my nursing degree and I've worked in memory care for. Credentials don't matter here. Results do. My brother is paying you an extraordinary amount of money. He expects extraordinary care. Don't disappoint him. Min-seo's smile didn't reach her eyes. People who disappoint my brother tend to regret it. The threat hung in the air like smoke. Before Imani could respond, footsteps echoed from the hallway. Heavy, measured, purposeful. A man appeared, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop 5 degrees. Dae-young Kim was 35, but carried himself with the gravity of someone much older. Tall for a Korean man, broad-shouldered, wearing a three-piece suit despite being in his own home. But it was his eyes that stopped Imani's breath, dark, calculating, and completely devoid of warmth. Miss Daniels. His voice was smooth, controlled, the voice of someone accustomed to being obeyed. Welcome. I trust Minseo has explained the situation. Yes, sir. I'm ready to. My mother is everything to me. He moved closer, and Imani fought the urge to step back. When my father died, his last words were protect her. I take that responsibility seriously. You will care for her, as if she were your own mother. You will anticipate her needs before she voices them. You will treat her with dignity and compassion. He paused, his gaze boring into hers. And if I discover you are here for any reason other than her well-being, the consequences will be severe. Do we understand each other? Imani's nursing training kicked in, the professional mask she learned to wear when dealing with difficult family members. Mr. Kim, I'm here to provide the best possible care for your mother. That's my only agenda. Something flickered in his eyes, surprise, maybe, that she'd held his gaze. We'll see. Minseo, show her to mother's wing. He turned and walked away, and Imani realized she'd been holding her breath. Minseo led her through a maze of hallways to a separate wing of the mansion. Mother's rooms, she said, gesturing to a suite that was larger than Imani's entire apartment back in Atlanta. Bedroom, bathroom, sitting room. Your room is adjacent, there. She pointed to a door. You're on call 24/7. Mother wanders at night sometimes. You'll need to be alert. Of course. One more thing. Minseo's voice dropped lower. My brother doesn't trust easily. He's had people try to use mother to get close to him, to the family business. If you're smart, you'll do your job and nothing more. Don't ask questions. Don't get curious. Don't think you're special because he's paying you well. Her smile was razor sharp. You're not the first foreign caregiver we've hired. You probably won't be the last. Then she was gone, leaving Imani alone in the hallway. The door to Young-hee Kim's bedroom was slightly ajar. Imani knocked softly, then entered. The room was beautiful, traditional Korean furnishings mixed with medical equipment that had clearly been chosen for both functionality and aesthetics. A hospital bed that didn't look like a hospital bed. Monitors that blended into the decor. And by the window, in a chair positioned to catch the afternoon light, sat a small woman with silver hair and eyes that seemed to look right through Imani. Mrs. Kim. Imani approached slowly, the way she'd been trained. My name is Imani. I'm going to be taking care of you. The old woman's gaze focused. You're not Korean. No, ma'am. I'm from America. From Georgia. Georgia. Young-hee's face softened. I visited there once. Long time ago. The trees were beautiful. Then her expression clouded. Where's my husband? He was just here. Have you seen him? Imani's heart clenched. She'd dealt with dementia patients before, knew the cruel way the disease stole memories and replaced them with confusion. Would you like some tea, Mrs. Kim? I could make us some tea and we could talk. Tea. Yes. Young-hee smiled, and for a moment she looked decades younger. You have kind eyes. Like my mother-in-law. She was the only one who accepted me when I married into this family. Everyone else thought I wasn't good enough. Her fingers twisted in her lap. Maybe they were right. I'm sure that's not true. You don't know this family. Young-hee's voice turned sharp, lucid. You don't know what we've become. That first night, Imani lay in her new bedroom, luxurious by any standard, but feeling more like a gilded cage, and video called her father. The time difference meant it was early morning in Atlanta. He appeared on her screen, oxygen tubes in his nose, sitting in the hospital bed that now dominated their living room. Baby girl, he said, his voice thin but warm. How's Korea? It's different, Dad. The family is intense. Very private. I think the son might be involved in something illegal. Her father's expression grew serious. You be careful, Imani. Money like that always comes from somewhere. If you feel unsafe. I'm fine. Really. And Dad, the pay is exactly what we needed. 2 months, and we'll have enough for the treatment. Dr. Morrison said if we can get you into that clinical trial. Don't you sacrifice yourself for me. You sacrificed everything for me, Imani said, fighting tears. Put yourself through night school while raising me alone. Worked 3 jobs to send me to college. This is nothing, Dad. This is just a job. Just promise me you'll trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, I promise. But as she ended the call and stared at the ceiling of her expensive prison, Imani wondered if she'd just lied to her father for the first time in her life. The next morning, she woke to screaming. Imani ran to Young-hee's room to find the old woman backed into a corner, terror painted across her face, yelling in Korean. A breakfast tray lay shattered on the floor. 2 staff members Imani hadn't met stood frozen in the doorway, uncertain. Mrs. Kim. Imani kept her voice calm, approaching slowly with her hands visible. Mrs. Kim, it's Imani. You're safe. You're home. Get away from me. You're trying to poison me. Where's my son? I want my son. The staff members exchanged glances. One pulled out a phone, probably to call Dae-young. But Imani held up a hand to stop them. She'd handled episodes like this before. Calling the family would only escalate Young-hee's panic. Mrs. Kim, Imani said softly, switching tactics. I'm not trying to hurt you. See, I'm going to sit right here. She lowered herself to the floor, making herself smaller, less threatening. You were telling me yesterday about Georgia. About the trees. What kind of trees did you see? Young-hee's breathing slowed slightly. What? The trees in Georgia. You said they were beautiful. I grew up there, in Atlanta. We had this huge oak tree in our backyard. My grandmother used to say it was older than the city itself. Imani kept her voice gentle, rhythmic. Was it oak trees you saw? Young-hee's hands unclenched slightly. Dogwood. It was spring. The dogwood trees were blooming. White flowers everywhere, like snow. Her eyes cleared a fraction. My husband took me there. Our honeymoon. Before everything changed. That sounds lovely. Dogwood trees are my favorite. Are you the new girl? The one taking care of me? Yes, ma'am. I'm Imani. I'm sorry. Young-hee's voice broke. I'm sorry, I get confused sometimes. I didn't mean to. You have nothing to apologize for. Imani stood slowly, gesturing for the staff to leave. Once they were alone, she helped Young-hee to her chair. How about we clean this up together, and I make you fresh breakfast? What do you usually like to eat? I don't remember. Well, let's figure it out together. What Imani didn't know was that Dae-young had watched the entire interaction on the security feed in his office. He'd been about to come down personally, ready to terminate Imani's employment if she couldn't handle his mother. But something about the way she'd sat on the floor, made herself vulnerable, spoke about trees with such genuine warmth, it had given him pause. Min-seo, standing beside him, wasn't impressed. She got lucky, Appa. One good moment doesn't mean anything. Perhaps. But Dae-young kept watching as Imani patiently helped his mother, laughing at something Young-hee said, treating her like a person instead of a patient. It had been years since he'd seen his mother laugh. Over the next 2 weeks, Imani fell into a rhythm. Young-hee had good days and terrible days. Sometimes she knew exactly who Imani was. Other times she thought Imani was her own mother, or a childhood friend, or a complete stranger trying to hurt her. Imani learned to roll with the confusion, to meet Young-hee wherever her mind had wandered. She also learned about the house's rhythms. Men in expensive suits came and went at odd hours. Conversations in rapid Korean that stopped whenever she approached. The way Dae-young's office on the 3rd floor was completely off limits, guarded by men who looked like they knew how to break bones professionally. The staff who wouldn't meet her eyes. The deliveries that came in unmarked trucks at 3 in the morning. Imani wasn't naive. She knew what this looked like. But she also knew that Young-hee Kim was a kind woman trapped in a body that was betraying her, and she deserved compassionate care regardless of what her son did for a living. On her day off, Imani didn't leave the mansion. Instead, she went into Seoul's Itaewon district, to the African market she'd discovered online. She bought ingredients, Nigerian crayfish, egusi, palm oil, plantains. Then to a Korean market for mayak, dashima, gochugaru. The merchants looked at her strangely, this black woman buying such specific items. But she smiled and practiced her basic Korean, and slowly, her plan took shape. Young-hee had mentioned, in one of her lucid moments, that her mother-in-law had made a seaweed soup with a unique flavor she'd never been able to replicate. She put something special in it, Young-hee had said wistfully. But she died before she could teach me. I've missed that taste for 40 years. Imani had an idea. That evening, she prepared a fusion dish in the mansion's professional kitchen, ignoring the confused looks from the regular cooking staff. Korean mayak guk, seaweed soup, traditional for birthdays and new mothers. But she added Nigerian crayfish, ground fine, and a touch of palm oil for depth. The result was something between both cultures, familiar and foreign at once. She brought it to Young-hee on a tray she decorated with flowers from the garden. Young-hee took one sip and her eyes widened. This tastes like, how did you? I thought I'd try something different, Imani said, sitting beside her. Do you like it? Tears rolled down Young-hee's cheeks. It tastes like home. Like when I first married into this family and his mother was still alive, and she made me feel welcome even though everyone else. She grabbed Imani's hand. How did you know? You mentioned it. I just tried to recreate what you described. What neither of them knew was that Dae-young, reviewing the day's security footage that night, watched this entire exchange. He saw his mother's tears, saw her genuine joy, saw Imani holding her hand with such tenderness. And for the first time in years, something cracked in the ice around his heart. But Min-seo was there to freeze it over again. She's getting too close to mother, his sister said, appearing in his surveillance room doorway. This is exactly what I warned you about. These people, they see opportunity and they take it. These people. Dae-young's voice was cold. You know what I mean. Foreign caregivers. They come here and think they can use our family. Remember the last one? The one who tried to steal mother's jewelry. That was never proven. Because you paid her to leave before we could prove it. Min-seo moved closer to the monitors. Mother's diamond bracelet is missing. Did you know that? It disappeared last week. And look at this. She pulled out her phone, showed him something. I had our people look into Imani Daniels. Her father is sick. Expensive treatment needed. She's desperate for money. Dae-young's jaw tightened. That doesn't make her a thief. It makes her motivated. And desperation makes people do terrible things. Min Seo's voice softened, became almost gentle. Appa, I know you want to believe the best in people. But we can't afford that luxury. Not in our world. You taught me that. He had taught her that. After their father died and Dae-young took over the organization at 25, he learned quickly that trust was a weakness enemies exploited. He'd built his empire on suspicion, on always being 3 steps ahead, on assuming everyone had an angle. So why did every instinct in his body resist believing that about Imani Daniels? I'll watch her, he said finally. Closely. Good. Min Seo smiled. Because I'd hate to see mother get hurt. She's already lost so much. After Min Seo left, Dae-young sat alone in his surveillance room, watching Imani help his mother prepare for bed. She was singing something. He turned up the audio. An Igbo lullaby, soft and melodic. Young, he was already half asleep, but she was smiling. Dae-young's phone buzzed. His second-in-command, Tae-sung. Sir, we have a situation. The Yakuza are moving into Itaewon. They're asking about your operations. Handle it, Dae-young said, his eyes never leaving the monitor. There's more. They've been asking about your household staff. Specifically, new hires in the last month. Now Dae-young's attention snapped to the phone. Explain. They know you hired a foreign caregiver. They think she might be a vulnerability. Easy to compromise. Use as leverage. Tae-sung paused. They're not wrong, sir. If she's as innocent as she appears, she'd be an easy target. And if she wasn't innocent? If she was already working for someone? Dae-young's mind raced through possibilities. The Yakuza were bold, but not stupid. They wouldn't approach someone directly. They'd be subtle, building a file, looking for weaknesses to exploit. Increase security around Mother's wing, he ordered. And put a detail on Miss Daniels when she leaves the property. I want to know everywhere she goes, everyone she talks to. Yes, sir. Dae-young ended the call and pulled up the security footage archive. He started watching, methodically, every interaction Imani had had since arriving, looking for tells, inconsistencies, anything that suggested she was more than she appeared. What he found was mundane. Imani woke early, usually around 5. She spent an hour preparing elaborate breakfasts for his mother, different every day, researched to perfection. She read to Young-hee from Korean poetry books, slowly, practicing the pronunciation. She exercised with her, gentle movements designed for elderly patients. She video called her father every evening, and the conversations were always the same. How are you feeling? Did the doctor visit? I'm fine, don't worry about me. Nothing suspicious. Nothing except. Dae-young froze the footage. Rewound. There. Imani in the garden at midnight. Phone pressed to her ear, looking around nervously. He couldn't hear what she was saying. The outdoor audio wasn't as clear. But her body language screamed secrecy. He pulled footage from the next night. There she was again. Same time. Same nervous energy. The third night, she wasn't alone. She was digging in the garden, planting something. At midnight. Why would someone plant flowers in the middle of the night unless they were hiding something? Dae-young's suspicions crystallized into certainty. Min Seo was right. Imani Daniels was playing a game, and he'd been too distracted by his mother's happiness to see it. The next morning, he called Min Seo to his office. I need you to do something for me. His sister smiled. Anything, Appa. Mother's jade pendant. The one that went missing. I need it to disappear again. And I need the staff to notice. Min Seo's smile widened. You're testing her. I'm confirming what we already suspect. Make it look natural. Leave it in Mother's room, where Imani has access. Then take it after she's been alone with Mother. I want to see how she reacts when it's discovered missing. Consider it done. What Dae-young didn't know was that Min Seo had already taken the jade pendant weeks ago. She'd been planting evidence against Imani from the start, building a case that would inevitably lead to the caregiver's dismissal. Because Min Seo had her own agenda. She'd seen how her brother looked at the monitors when Imani was on screen. She'd noticed the softness creeping into his voice when he mentioned their mother's improvement. And Min Seo knew that softness was dangerous. Their father had been soft once, had trusted the wrong person, and it had nearly destroyed the organization. She wouldn't let history repeat itself. The jade pendant disappeared that afternoon. By evening, the entire staff knew. Whispers in Korean that Imani couldn't quite understand, but whose meaning was clear in the sideways glances and sudden silences when she entered a room. Dae-young watched her reaction on the surveillance feed. Imani looked confused when one of the housekeepers mentioned the missing pendant. Concerned, she immediately went to Young-hee's room and gently asked if she remembered where she'd put it. Put what, dear? Young-hee was having a bad day, barely lucid. Your jade pendant. The one you wear sometimes. I don't have a jade pendant. Imani's face fell. She spent the next hour searching Young-hee's room, methodically, carefully, being sure not to upset the old woman. She found nothing. Of course she found nothing. That night, She knocked on Dae-young's office door. He let her in, curious. Mr. Kim, I need to tell you something. She stood straight, professional. Your mother's jade pendant is missing. I've searched her entire suite. I wanted to report it immediately. And why would you do that? He kept his voice neutral. Because I'm responsible for her care. That includes her belongings. If something went missing on my watch, you should know. Perhaps you took it. The accusation hung between them. Imani's expression flickered, hurt, then anger, then controlled professionalism. I did not take anything from your mother, Mr. Kim. But I understand that you don't know me, and you have reason to be suspicious. If you'd like to search my room, you're welcome to. If you'd like to terminate my employment, I understand. But I will not stand here and accept an accusation of theft without defending myself. There was fire in her eyes. Real, genuine offense. Either she was an exceptional liar or, that won't be necessary, Dae-young said. But Miss Daniels, understand that I will be watching you very carefully. You've been watching me since I arrived, Mr. Kim. I've seen the cameras. She met his gaze steadily. Watch all you want. You'll find that I'm exactly who I say I am. She left before he could respond. Dae-young sat back in his chair, frustrated. She was good. Too good. Either completely innocent or a professional playing a long game. He needed more evidence, more proof. That's when he made the decision that would change everything. Tae-sung, he called his second-in-command. I want additional cameras installed. Hidden. In Mother's suite, the hallways, the garden. Everywhere Miss Daniels has access. Sir, we already have comprehensive coverage. Not comprehensive enough. I want to see everything. Audio too. Full surveillance, 24/7. Install them tonight while she's sleeping. Tae-sung hesitated. Sir, that level of surveillance, if she discovers it, it could be considered. I don't care what it could be considered. My mother's safety is paramount. Install the cameras. Yes, sir. That night, while Imani slept, a team of technicians moved through the mansion like ghosts. They installed pinhole cameras in air vents, behind picture frames, inside decorative objects. Microphones so sensitive they could pick up a whisper from across a room. By dawn, every moment of Imani's life was being recorded. Dae-young gave himself a deadline. 72 hours. 3 days of total surveillance. If Imani was innocent, he'd see it. If she was guilty, she'd slip up. Everyone eventually slipped up. He started reviewing footage immediately. Every moment, every interaction, every private second. Day 1 began at 5 in the morning. Imani woke in her room, stretched, and immediately went to her laptop. Dae-young leaned forward, watching as she opened a browser. But instead of anything suspicious, she pulled up a Korean language learning app. For 30 minutes, she practiced vocabulary. Then she opened a website for dementia care techniques and took notes. At 6, she went to the kitchen. The cooking staff wasn't up yet. She prepared breakfast, not just for Young-hee, but an elaborate spread. Korean-style grilled mackerel. Miso soup with tofu she'd pressed herself the night before. Rice cooked in a traditional stone pot. Fresh kimchi. And then, surprisingly, she added Nigerian-style fried plantains and a small bowl of egusi soup. She arranged everything on a lacquered tray with such care, adding a single flower in a small vase. Then she carried it to Young-hee's room. Good morning, Mrs. Kim. Imani's voice was gentle through the speakers. I made you something special today. A fusion breakfast. Korean and Nigerian. I thought it might be fun to try. Young-hee, already awake and sitting by the window, turned with a smile. You're too good to me, Imani. You shouldn't go to so much trouble. It's not trouble. It's joy. And the way Imani said it, Dae-young could hear the truth in her voice. They ate together, Imani sitting on the floor at Young-hee's feet like a daughter. They talked about everything and nothing. Young-hee's childhood in Busan, Imani's grandmother in Atlanta, the weather, the flowers blooming in the garden. Sometimes Young-hee forgot mid-sentence what she was saying, and Imani would gently remind her. Sometimes Young-hee called Imani by a different name, and Imani would simply answer to it. After breakfast, Imani helped Young-hee bathe, with such dignity and care that Dae-young felt ashamed for watching. But he couldn't look away. He'd hired caregivers before. Professionals who did their job efficiently and left. This was different. This was personal. At noon, Young-hee napped. Imani took her lunch break. She went to her room, closed the door, and pulled out her phone. Dae-young tensed. Here it was. The suspicious phone call. But when Imani dialed, the face that appeared on her screen was her father. He looked worse than in previous calls. Thinner, grayer, the oxygen tubes more prominent. Hey, baby girl. His voice was weak. Dad. Imani's professional mask crumbled. How was the doctor's visit? He said without the treatment, I've got maybe 6 months. With it, maybe 5 years. Maybe more. He coughed, and it took him a long moment to catch his breath. Imani, that money you're saving, I need you to use it for yourself. For your future. I've lived a good life. Stop it. Imani's voice broke. Stop talking like that. I'm going to get you that treatment. 2 more months of work here, and I'll have enough. Just 2 more months, Dad. Please. You shouldn't have to sacrifice for me. You sacrificed everything for me. Tears streamed down her face. You worked 3 jobs to send me to college. You sold your car when I needed money for textbooks. You gave me everything. This is nothing. This is just time. Just money. Please, Dad. Please fight. I'm fighting, baby. For you. I'm fighting. They talked for another 20 minutes, Imani wiping her eyes, forcing her voice to stay steady. When the call ended, she sat on her bed and cried. Quiet, heartbroken sobs that she muffled with her pillow so Young-hee wouldn't hear. Dae-young sat in his surveillance room, his chest tight. This wasn't guilt. This was grief. Raw and real and completely incompatible with someone running a con. But he kept watching. That afternoon, Imani returned to Young-hee with a smile plastered back on her face. They did exercises together, gentle movements to maintain Young-hee's flexibility. They read poetry. They looked at old photo albums, and Imani asked questions about each picture, helping Young-hee remember her own life. At 4 o'clock, Imani made tea. While it steeped, she pulled out a notebook and started writing. Dae-young zoomed in on the page. She was documenting Young-hee's good moments and bad moments, tracking patterns, noting what helped and what didn't. Professional nursing notes that went far beyond what her job required. At 6, she prepared dinner. Another fusion meal, Korean bulgogi with Nigerian jollof rice. Young-hee ate with enthusiasm, complimenting every bite. At 8, Young-hee started to fade. Dementia patients often got worse in the evenings, sundowning, it was called. Young-hee became agitated, convinced that someone had stolen her husband. Where is he? She demanded, her voice rising. Where's my husband? What have you done with him? Imani didn't argue, didn't try to force reality on her. Instead, she said, he had to go out for a little while, but he asked me to keep you company until he gets back. Would that be all right? Young-hee calmed immediately. Oh, yes, that's fine. He's always working so hard. He is. But he loves you very much. He tells me all the time. Does he? Every single day? He says you're the most beautiful woman he's ever seen. That marrying you was the best decision of his life. Young-hee's face softened into a smile. He said that. All the time. It was a lie, but it was a kind lie. A necessary lie. And it worked. Young-hee settled into bed, peaceful. Imani sat beside her, singing that Igbo lullaby again. Young-hee fell asleep holding her hand. Once the old woman was deeply asleep, Imani carefully extracted her hand and left the room. But she didn't go to her own room. Instead, she went to the garden. At midnight, just like the previous nights, Dae-young switched to the outdoor cameras, watching as Imani knelt in the dirt. Have you ever wondered what would make someone so dedicated? What drives a person to care for a stranger with such devotion? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're invested in finding out what Imani is really doing in that garden at midnight, make sure you're subscribed because what Dae-young discovers next will shake him to his core. Imani pulled out a small trowel from the garden shed and began digging. Dae-young zoomed in, trying to see what she was planting. Not flowers. Something else. She pulled small packets from her pocket. Seeds, he realized. Korean medicinal herbs based on the labels he could barely make out in the infrared camera. She planted them methodically in a section of the garden that got morning sun. Then she pulled out her phone and took pictures. Not of the mansion, not of anything suspicious, but of the planted area. She typed notes into her phone. Dae-young accessed her phone's data feed, another invasion of privacy that Taesung had set up. The notes read, planted Korean mint, mugwort, and Solomon's seal. Research shows these herbs traditionally used for memory support in elderly patients. Need to cultivate for 6 to 8 weeks before harvest. Mrs. Kim mentioned her mother-in-law used to make herbal teas that helped with clarity. Maybe I can recreate them. Dae-young sat back in his chair. She was planting medicinal herbs. At midnight. Because she was researching traditional Korean remedies for dementia and didn't want to disturb anyone during the day with her gardening. This wasn't suspicious behavior. This was dedication bordering on obsession. Day 2 of surveillance began the same way. 5 a.m. wake up. Korean language practice. Elaborate breakfast. But this morning, Young-hee wasn't doing well. She didn't recognize Imani at all. Thought she was an intruder, screamed for help. Imani handled it perfectly. She backed away, made herself non-threatening, spoke in soft Korean phrases she'd been practicing. Gwenchina, Gwenchina. It's okay. It's okay. She didn't try to force interaction. Just sat on the floor across the room and started singing that Igbo lullaby. Slowly, Young-hee calmed. The familiar melody seemed to reach something deep in her confused mind. After 20 minutes, she said, you have a pretty voice. Thank you, Mrs. Kim. I don't know you. That's all right. I'm Imani. I'm here to help you. Help me with what? Whatever you need. Young-hee considered this. I need to find my son. I need to tell him something important. What do you need to tell him? Young-hee's face crumpled. I can't remember. But it was important. Why can't I remember? Imani moved closer, slowly. It's okay not to remember everything. The important things, your heart remembers even if your mind forgets. Does it? I believe so. They sat together in silence. Then Young-hee said, will you have breakfast with me? I don't like eating alone. I'd love to. Dae-young watched this interaction 3 times. The patience, the compassion, the genuine care. This wasn't an act. You couldn't fake this level of empathy. That afternoon, while Young-hee napped, Imani did something unexpected. She went to Dae-young's office and knocked. He wasn't there. He was in a meeting across town, but the cameras caught everything. She spoke to the empty room, probably knowing he'd see it on footage. Mr. Kim, I wanted to update you on your mother's condition. She's having more bad days than good lately. I've been researching traditional Korean remedies that might help, and I've started a small herb garden with your staff's permission. I hope that's all right. I've also been tracking her patterns, and I think we might need to adjust her medication schedule. I've prepared a report for you with my observations and recommendations. I'll leave it on your desk. I know you're busy, but if you have time to review it, I think it could help her. She left a folder on his desk and walked out. Dae-young pulled up the document camera feed. The report was 15 pages long, meticulously detailed. Charts tracking Young-hee's lucid moments, her triggers, her good responses, and bad ones. Medication recommendations with citations from medical journals. Dietary suggestions. Environmental modifications. It was the work of someone who genuinely cared, who was going far beyond their job description. At the bottom of the last page, handwritten, "Your mother is an extraordinary woman. Even in her confusion, she shows such grace and kindness. I'm honored to care for her. Imani." Dae-young's hands trembled as he held the report that Tae-sung had retrieved for him. What was he doing? What had he become? He was spying on a woman whose only crime was caring too much for his mother. But Min Seo's voice echoed in his head. Desperation makes people do terrible things. So he kept watching. Day 2, evening. Young-hee was lucid again, and Imani used the opportunity to do something Dae-young had never seen before. She pulled out a large photo album, one she must have made herself. It was filled with pictures she'd gathered from around the house, printed and arranged chronologically. "Mrs. Kim, I made you something. A memory book. Your life in pictures." Young-hee's hands shook as she opened it. The first page was her wedding photo. "Oh," she whispered. "I was so young. You were beautiful. You still are." They went through page by page. Young-hee as a young mother, holding baby Dae-young. Young-hee and her husband at various ages, at different events. The children growing up. Vacations. Celebrations. Ordinary moments made precious by time. Imani had added captions in both Korean and English. She'd decorated the pages with traditional Korean paper designs and pressed flowers. Each page was a work of art. "You made this?" Young-hee asked, tears streaming down her face. "For me. I thought it might help. On days when you can't remember, you can look at this and see your beautiful life. Why are you so kind to me? I'm just a confused old woman. You're not just anything. You're Young-hee Kim. You're a mother, a wife, a woman who survived things I can't imagine. You're important. Your memories are important. Your life is important." Young-hee pulled Imani into a hug. "You're the daughter I never had," she whispered. "Min Seo is my daughter by blood, but you have my heart." Imani hugged her back, crying too. "That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me." They sat together, going through the album, Young-hee telling stories about each picture. Some stories she'd told before. Some were new. Imani listened to all of them with equal attention, asking questions, laughing at the funny parts, offering comfort at the sad ones. Then Young-hee's expression changed, became serious. She looked directly at Imani and spoke with complete clarity. "My son, Dae-young, he's forgotten how to love." Imani shifted uncomfortably. "Mrs. Kim, I don't think. He has. He's become his father. All power, no heart. His father was a hard man. Built an empire but destroyed his soul doing it. Made enemies of everyone. Died alone." Young-hee gripped Imani's hands. "Dae-young thinks strength means being cold. He thinks love is weakness. But he's wrong. He's so wrong. I'm sure he loves you very much. He does. In his way. But he's forgotten how to show it. Forgotten how to feel it." Young-hee's eyes filled with tears. When his father died, he changed. Became harder. Colder. Built walls so high no one can reach him. And I'm dying, Imani. I'm dying by pieces, my mind going first. And my son has forgotten how to love me while I can still feel it. Mrs. Kim, promise me something." Young-hee's grip tightened. "Promise me you won't let this world make you cold. Promise me you'll keep your kindness, your warmth. Don't let them take it from you. I promise. And promise me you'll help my son remember. Help him remember that it's okay to feel. That love isn't weakness. That being human isn't failure. I don't think I have that kind of influence. You do. I see how he watches you. How he pays attention when you're around. You remind him of something he's forgotten. You can help him remember." Imani looked overwhelmed. "Mrs. Kim, I'm just the caregiver. I'm not. Call me Yama. It means mother in Korean." Young-hee smiled through her tears. "Because that's how I think of you. Like a daughter. The daughter my heart chose even if my blood didn't." Imani broke down completely. "Yama," she whispered, testing the word. "Thank you. Thank you for seeing me. for accepting me. They held each other, two women from completely different worlds, connected by something deeper than culture or blood. In his surveillance room, Dae-young sat frozen. His mother's words echoed in his skull. He's forgotten how to love. Was that true? When had he last told his mother he loved her? When had he last sat with her, really sat with her, instead of checking in for 5 minutes between meetings? When had he last prioritized her over business? The answer made him sick. He watched as Imani helped his mother to bed, tucking her in with such tenderness. Watched as she sat beside the bed long after Young-hee fell asleep, just holding her hand. Watched as she finally left the room, wiping tears from her eyes. Then Imani did something that broke him completely. She went to her room, sat at her small desk, and pulled out a notebook. She started writing. Dae-young zoomed in on the page. Dear Yama, it began. I know you won't remember this tomorrow, but I need to write it down. I need to remember even if you forget. Today you call me your daughter. Today you gave me a gift I didn't know I needed. Acceptance. My own mother died when I was 10. Cancer. And my grandmother raised me. And she was wonderful. But there's always been this empty space in my heart where a mother should be. You filled it today. You probably won't remember tomorrow. You might not even know my name. But I'll remember. I'll carry this moment forever. Thank you for choosing me. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for loving me. Your daughter by heart, Imani. Dae-young's vision blurred. He pressed his palms against his eyes, trying to force back emotions he'd locked away for years. This woman, this stranger, had given his mother more love in 6 weeks than he'd managed in 6 years. And he'd repaid her by spying on her, by suspecting her, by treating her like a criminal. He was the monster, not her. Him. The surveillance footage continued. Day 3 began. But Dae-young almost couldn't watch. He felt dirty, voyeuristic. This wasn't about security anymore. This was about his own failures reflected in Imani's perfection. But he'd committed to 72 hours. He had to see it through. Day 3, 5 a.m. Imani woke up and went through her routine. But this morning, Young-hee was already awake when Imani entered her room. And she was having a crisis. Who are you? Young-hee demanded, backing away. Where am I? Where's my husband? What have you done to him? Mrs. Kim, it's Imani. You're at home. You're safe. You're lying. You're trying to trick me. Get away from me. Imani tried every technique she knew. Nothing worked. Young-hee became increasingly agitated, eventually trying to leave the room, pushing past Imani. Imani didn't restrain her. She knew that could make things worse, but followed at a distance, trying to keep her safe. Young-hee wandered through the mansion, calling for her husband, for Dae-young, for anyone. It was 3 in the morning. The staff was asleep. Imani was alone with a woman spiraling into complete confusion. Finally, Young-hee collapsed in the hallway, exhausted from panic, crying. Imani sat beside her on the floor. I don't know where I am. Young-hee sobbed. I don't know who I am. Everything's wrong. Everything's confusing. I want to go home, but I don't know where home is. Imani put her arm around the old woman's shoulders. I know it's scary, but you're not alone. I'm here with you. Who are you? I'm someone who cares about you very much. Why? I don't even know you. You don't have to know me. I know you. And that's enough. Young-hee leaned against her, defeated. I'm so tired of being confused. So tired of forgetting. I just want it to stop. I know. Imani's voice broke. I know you do. They sat there on the floor for an hour. Imani didn't try to force Young-hee back to bed. Didn't try to fix anything. Just sat with her in the confusion and fear. Eventually, Young-hee's exhaustion won. She fell asleep right there in the hallway, her head on Imani's shoulder. Imani stayed there all night, holding her, sleeping upright against the wall. When the morning staff found them at 6 a.m., they tried to help, to move Young-hee back to bed. But Imani waved them off. Let her sleep a little longer. She had a hard night. When Young-hee finally woke, she looked at Imani with clear eyes. You stayed with me. Of course I did. Thank you. She touched Imani's face. You have the kindest eyes. Like someone I used to know. Someone who loved me. I do love you, Yama. Young-hee smiled. Yama. I like when you call me that. Dae-young watched this entire night play out on surveillance. Watched Imani sacrifice her sleep, her comfort, her everything for his mother. Watched her demonstrate love in its purest form. Selfless, patient, unconditional. And he realized his mother was right. He had forgotten how to love. But watching Imani, he was starting to remember. That afternoon, while Young-hee napped, Dae-young made a decision. He called Tae-sung to his office. Remove the cameras from Mother's wing. Sir, you heard me. Remove them. All of them. The new ones we just installed. I want them gone. But sir, the surveillance was a mistake. Remove them. Today. Tae-sung left, confused. Dae-young sat alone in his office, staring at the surveillance monitors he was about to shut down. He'd found what he was looking for. Not evidence of betrayal. Evidence of something he thought didn't exist in his world. Pure goodness. His phone buzzed. Tae-sung. Sir, we have a problem. What kind of problem? The Yakuza. They've made their move. They've been surveilling the house. They know about Miss Daniels. They know your mother's schedule. And sir, Taesung's voice lowered. They're planning to make a move tonight. They're going to try to take Miss Daniels as leverage against you. Dae-young's blood ran cold. How good is your intelligence on this? Dae-young demanded, already moving toward his weapons safe. Solid. We intercepted communications an hour ago. They think Miss Daniels is vulnerable, foreign, isolated, easy to grab. They're planning to take her when she goes to the garden tonight. They've been watching her routine. Of course they had. Imani's midnight gardening made her predictable, made her a target. Lock down the house. Full security protocol. No one in or out. And I want armed details on Mother's Wing and on Miss Daniels. No one gets close to either of them. Already on it, sir. But there's another issue. Taesung hesitated. Miss Mincio has been asking questions about our security response. She wants to know why we're protecting the caregivers so thoroughly. Dae-young's jaw clenched. His sister. Always his sister, inserting herself into situations, questioning his decisions. Mincio doesn't need to know everything. Just make sure she stays out of the way. He ended the call and sat back, thinking. The Yakuza wouldn't risk a direct assault on the mansion. His security was too good. But they didn't need to. All they needed was to catch Imani alone, away from protection. And Imani, innocent and unaware of the danger, would walk right into their trap tonight when she went to check on her herbs. Unless he stopped her. Dae-young stood, straightening his suit. It was time to stop watching Imani's life on screens and actually talk to her. Time to tell her the truth about everything. The surveillance, the suspicion, the danger. Time to face what he'd done and what he'd learned. He found her in Young-hee's room, reading aloud from a book of Korean poetry. His mother was awake, listening with a peaceful expression. They looked like a real family. More real than his actual family had felt in years. He knocked on the doorframe. Both women looked up. Mr. Kim, Imani said, surprise in her voice. He rarely came to his mother's wing. Is everything all right? I need to speak with you. Privately. His voice was harder than he intended. Professional. Cold. Imani glanced at Young-hee. I'll be right back, Iyama. She followed him to his office. As soon as the door closed, Dae-young turned to face her. Now that she was here, in front of him, he didn't know where to begin. Miss Daniels, I need to tell you something. Multiple things, actually. And I need you to listen without interrupting. Her expression shifted to cautious. Okay. First, I need to tell you that I've been surveilling you. Not just the normal security cameras. I installed additional cameras throughout the mansion. In Mother's suite. In the hallways. The garden. I've been watching your every move for the past 72 hours. The color drained from Imani's face. You've been spying on me? Yes. I had reason to believe you might be using your position to. To what? Her voice rose, anger flooding in. To steal from your mother? To hurt her? What exactly did you think I was doing, Mr. Kim? My sister brought concerns to my attention. Items going missing. Your secretive behavior. The phone calls. The midnight activities in the garden. Even as he said it, he heard how foolish it sounded. Secretive behavior? Imani's laugh was bitter. I was calling my dying father. I was planting medicinal herbs to help your mother. I was doing everything I could to give her the best care possible, and you thought I was a criminal. I was wrong. The words felt foreign on his tongue. Dae-young Kim didn't admit fault, didn't apologize. But watching her face, seeing the hurt and betrayal there, he found himself saying it again. I was completely wrong about you. And I'm sorry. You're sorry? You violated my privacy. You watched me in my most vulnerable moments. You suspected me of God knows what, and all I was doing was my job. More than my job. I was loving your mother. Tears rolled down her face. Do you know what she means to me? Do you have any idea? I do now. I watched you with her. I saw everything. You watched, Imani's voice broke. You watched me crying about my father? You watched me writing in my journal? You watched me with your mother during her worst moments? Yes. That's disgusting. That's invasive and disgusting, and I don't care how powerful you are or how dangerous your world is. That's not okay. She moved toward the door. I quit. I'll pack my things and be gone by. You can't leave. Dae-young blocked her path. That's the second thing I need to tell you. The Yakuza knows about you. They've been surveilling the house. They're planning to kidnap you tonight to use as leverage against me. If you leave this mansion, they will take you. And once they have you... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Imani stared at him. This is insane. This is completely insane. I came here to care for an elderly woman, and now I'm caught in some gang war. I'm being spied on and threatened and... I know this isn't what you signed up for. But it's the reality. My world is dangerous. And by being in my house, caring for my mother, you've become visible to my enemies. They see you as a weakness they can exploit. I'm not your weakness. I'm not anything to you. I'm an employee. That's all. That's not true anymore. Dae-young's voice softened. If it ever was. You've become important to this family. To my mother. And because of that, you're in danger. Real danger. I can protect you, but only if you stay here. Only if you trust me. Trust you? You just admitted to spying on me. I know. And I'm trying to make it right. The cameras are being removed as we speak. All of them. I'm done surveilling you. But I need you to understand the situation. I need you to let me keep you safe. Imani backed away, shaking her head. I need to think. I need space. I'm afraid space is a luxury we don't have. The Yakuza are moving tonight. Then what do you want from me? To stay locked in this house like a prisoner. I want you to stay because my mother needs you. Because. Dae-young struggled with words he hadn't spoken in years. Because I was wrong about you. Because in 72 hours of watching your every move, I learned more about compassion and love than I've known in my entire adult life. Because my mother was right when she said I've forgotten how to love, and you've been teaching me to remember. Imani froze. Your mother said that? About you? I heard her. On the surveillance. She told you I've become my father. Cold. Hard. That I've forgotten how to feel. He met her eyes. She was right. But watching you with her, seeing how you care for her, how you see her as a person and not a burden, it's been waking something up in me. Something I thought died with my father. Do you think Imani should trust him? Has Dae-young really changed? Or is this just another manipulation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and tell me where in the world you are watching from. Imani's expression softened slightly, but wariness remained. Mr. Kim, I appreciate what you're saying. But you have to understand, from my perspective, you've been treating me like a suspect this whole time. You installed cameras. You questioned my integrity. And now you're telling me I'm in danger because of your business, your enemies, your world. I didn't sign up for this. I know. And if you want to leave, if you want to go back to Atlanta, I'll arrange it. I'll pay off your father's medical bills in full. I'll give you a year's salary as severance. I'll make sure you're protected during the transition. But Imani, it was the first time he'd used her first name. My mother loves you. She calls you daughter. She's happier now than she's been since my father died. And she's dying. The dementia is progressive. She has maybe a year, maybe less. I'm asking you to stay for her. Not for me. For her. Imani's eyes filled with fresh tears. That's not fair. Using her to convince me. I know it's not fair. Nothing about this situation is fair. But it's the truth. She needs you. And I. He paused, the words difficult. I need you to help me remember how to be her son. How to love her the way she deserves to be loved while there's still time. Silence stretched between them. Outside the office window, dusk was falling. The time when the Yakuza would make their move approaching. The cameras are really being removed? Imani asked finally. Every single one from Mother's wing and your private spaces. You have my word. And you'll increase security? Not just for me, but for your mother? Already done. This house is a fortress. No one gets in or out without my knowledge. Imani took a shaky breath. I have conditions. If I'm going to stay, things have to change. Name them. First, my father gets his treatment. All of it. You cover everything. And I don't want it held over my head. I don't want to owe you. Consider it done. The money will be wired to his medical team tonight. Second, I want the truth. About your business. About who you are. I can't keep walking around in the dark pretending I don't know you're involved in something dangerous. If I'm at risk, I deserve to know why. Dae-young hesitated. This was dangerous. The less Imani knew, the safer she was from certain perspectives. But she deserved honesty. My father built an organization. Import, export, various business ventures. Some legal. Some less legal. When he died, I inherited control. I've been trying to legitimize the operation, but it takes time. And in the meantime, I have enemies. The Yakuza are one of many groups who want to take what we've built. They see any weakness as an opportunity. And I'm a weakness. You're a person I care about protecting. That makes you valuable to them. Imani absorbed this. Third condition. You start spending real time with your mother. Not 5-minute check-ins. Real time. She misses you. She talks about you constantly, about when you were young, about who you used to be before your father died. She's losing herself piece by piece, and she wants her son. Not the criminal boss. Her son. The words hit Dae-young like physical blows. I don't know how to be that person anymore. Then learn. Or relearn. But she doesn't have time for you to figure it out slowly. Start tonight. Have dinner with her. Talk to her. Listen to her stories even if she's told them 100 times. Just be present. I can do that. And fourth. Imani's voice grew stronger. You remove those cameras, like you said. All of them. If this is going to work, if I'm going to stay, there has to be trust. Real trust. Not surveillance disguised as security. The cameras are already coming down. You have my word. Imani studied him for a long moment. I must be insane. This is insane. But okay. I'll stay. For your mother. For Iyama. Relief flooded through Dae-young, surprising in its intensity. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You still have to follow through on those conditions. Especially the one about spending time with her. She needs you, Mr. Kim. More than she needs me, actually. I'm just a substitute for what she really wants. Her son's love. Call me Dae-young. If you're going to stay, if you're going to be part of this family, you should use my name. Dae-young, Imani tested it. Okay. When do I need to worry about this Yakuza threat? Tonight. They were planning to grab you in the garden. But now that you're aware, we'll keep you inside. My security team has the perimeter covered. By tomorrow, the threat should be neutralized. Neutralized? That's a careful word for something violent. This is a violent world. I won't lie to you about that. I appreciate the honesty, even if it's terrifying. Imani moved toward the door. I should get back to your mother. She worries when I'm gone too long. Imani. She turned back. I meant what I said. About learning from you. About remembering how to love. Thank you for that. Thank you for showing me. She nodded, and for the first time since entering his office, she smiled slightly. You're welcome. Now go be her son for a while. I'll bring dinner to her room at 7. Join us. I will. After she left, Dae-young stood alone in his office, processing everything. In 72 hours, his entire world had shifted. He'd started the surveillance to prove Imani was a threat. Instead, he'd proven that he was the one who'd lost his way. His phone buzzed. Tae-sung. Sir, we have eyes on the Yakuza team. 6 men, positioned around the perimeter. They're waiting for Miss Daniels to make her evening garden visit. She won't be going out tonight. Maintain surveillance. When they realize she's not coming, they'll likely retreat. Follow them. I want to know where their base is. We'll deal with them tomorrow. And if they try to breach the house, then we show them why attacking Kim property is a fatal mistake. But I don't think they will. They're smart enough to know they can't take this house by force. Understood, sir. Dae-young ended the call and looked at his watch. 6:30. He had 30 minutes before dinner with his mother. When was the last time he'd shared a meal with her? Really shared one, not just eating while reviewing business documents? He couldn't remember. He went to his private quarters and changed out of his suit into more casual clothes, slacks, and a simple sweater. His mother used to say he looked like his father in suits, and not in a good way. Maybe tonight he could just be her son. At 7 exactly, he knocked on his mother's door. Imani opened it, surprise flickering across her face. You came. I said I would. Inside, Young-hee sat at her small dining table. When she saw Dae-young, her face lit up with such pure joy that it broke his heart. Dae-young, you're here. Are you staying for dinner? Yes, mother. If that's all right with you. Of course. Of course it's all right. Imani, set another place. My son is joining us. They sat together, the 3 of them, around the small table. Imani had prepared a simple meal, Korean home cooking, the kind Dae-young remembered from childhood before his father's business consumed everything. They ate and talked, and Young-hee told stories. Some stories Dae-young had heard before. Some were new, memories surfacing from the depths of his mother's fractured mind. He listened to all of them, really listened, and found himself laughing at the funny ones and moved by the touching ones. You were such a sweet boy, Young-hee said, touching his face. Before your father died, you used to laugh all the time, sing songs, play games. You were so full of life. I remember. Where did that boy go? Dae-young glanced at Imani, who was watching with gentle eyes. I don't know, mother. But maybe he's not completely gone. Maybe he's just been hiding. I hope you find him again. Before I forget who you were. I want to remember my sweet boy. I'll try, mother. I promise I'll try. After dinner, they sat together in Young-hee's room. Dae-young on one side of her, Imani on the other, looking at the photo album Imani had made. Young-hee's finger traced over a picture of Dae-young as a child, maybe 7 years old, grinning at the camera with a gap-toothed smile. This was at your birthday party. You wanted a superhero cake. Your father said it was foolish, but I made it anyway. You were so happy. I remember that cake. You stayed up all night decorating it. Did I? Young-hee looked confused. I don't remember. But if you say so, it must be true. They continued through the album until Young-hee's eyelids grew heavy. Dae-young helped Imani settle his mother into bed, an act so domestic and tender that it felt foreign to him. Young-hee gripped both their hands. My 2 children, she murmured, already half asleep. Both so beautiful. Both so kind. I'm lucky. So lucky. Once she was deeply asleep, Dae-young and Imani stepped into the hallway. The weight of the day, the conversation, the revelations, hung between them. Thank you for tonight, Dae-young said. For pushing me to do this. She was happy. She's always happy when you're around. She just wishes you were around more. That's going to change. Starting now. He paused. Imani, I need to tell you something else. About what I saw during the surveillance. She tensed. What? I saw you. Really saw you. Your dedication. Your love for my mother. Your grief over your father. Your strength and compassion and everything that makes you extraordinary. And I saw myself through your actions. How far I'd fallen. How much I'd lost. You held up a mirror, and I didn't like what I saw. But it was necessary. I needed to see it. I don't know what to say to that. You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know that what started as suspicion became something else. Respect. Admiration. And he struggled with the next words. And something I don't have a name for yet. Something I'm not ready to examine too closely. But it's there. Imani met his eyes. Dae-young, I can't be that person for you. I'm not here to fix you or save you or be some kind of moral compass. I'm here for your mother. I know. I'm not asking you to be anything other than what you are. I'm just being honest about what watching you has done to me. Honesty is new for you, isn't it? Terrifyingly new. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. But I'm learning. They stood in silence for a moment, the mansion quiet around them. Outside, Dae-young knew his security team was tracking the Yakuza. Tomorrow he would deal with that threat decisively. But tonight, in this moment, there was peace. I should let you rest, he said finally. It's been a long day. It has. But Dae-young. She touched his arm lightly. What you did tonight, having dinner with her, being present, that mattered. Keep doing that. She won't remember tomorrow that you were here tonight. But the feeling will stay with her. The happiness. That's what matters. I will. Every night, if I can. Good. As Imani turned to go to her room, Dae-young found himself saying, I need to ask you something. And I need you to think about it carefully before answering. She turned back. What? The Yakuza threat isn't going away. Even after we handle this immediate situation, there will be others. As long as you're in this house, caring for my mother, you're at risk. My enemies will always see you as potential leverage. He took a breath. In my world, there's one way to make someone completely untouchable. One way to send a message that anyone who harms you will face not just my organization's wrath, but a blood oath that transcends business. What are you saying? I'm saying that if you were family, not just an employee, but actual family, you'd be protected by laws that even the Yakuza wouldn't dare violate. In Korean organized crime, there are lines that aren't crossed. Family is one of them. Family. Imani's voice was cautious. How would I become family? Adoption is one way. But it's complicated, takes time, and wouldn't send the right message. He paused. Marriage is the other way. An immediate bond that would make you a Kim in every way that matters to these people. Imani stared at him. Are you proposing to me? After spying on me for 3 days and essentially admitting I'm in danger because of your lifestyle? I know how insane this sounds. Believe me, I'm aware. This isn't romantic. This isn't about love or feelings or any of the normal reasons people marry. This is about protection. About keeping you safe so you can continue caring for my mother. About giving you the security you need to stay without constantly looking over your shoulder. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Yes, but in my world, it makes sense. You'd have the Kim name, the Kim protection, access to resources that would ensure your father gets the best care possible for the rest of his life. Security that goes beyond just guards at the door. And you'd be able to stay with my mother, be her daughter-in-law officially, which would make her so happy. And what would you get out of this arrangement? Dae-young considered the question honestly. Peace of mind that you're safe. My mother's continued happiness. And maybe a chance to be part of a real family again. Even if it starts as an arrangement. Even if it's not conventional. You've already changed how I see the world, Imani. Maybe having you as family would continue that change. This is insane, Imani repeated, but he could see her mind working, considering angles. What would this marriage look like? Would you expect? Would this be separate bedrooms? No expectations beyond the public appearance of a married couple. You continue caring for my mother. I continue running my business. We're partners in protecting each other and caring for her. Nothing more, unless someday we both wanted more. But that would be a mutual decision, far in the future if ever. And if I say no, then nothing changes in how I protect you. You stay, you care for mother, you're safe. The guards remain, the security stays tight. But the message to my enemies won't be as clear. And there will always be someone willing to test our defenses to get to you. Imani walked to the window, looking out at the garden where she'd planted her medicinal herbs, where the Yakuza had planned to grab her tonight. I came to Seoul to care for one elderly woman and save my father's life. Now I'm being proposed to by a mafia boss as a security measure. My life has become a Korean drama. I suppose it has. She turned back to him. I need to think about this. This is not a decision I can make in a hallway at night after the day we've had. Of course, take all the time you need. How much time do I actually have before the next threat comes? Honestly, days. Maybe a week if we're lucky. So not much time at all. No, not much. Imani closed her eyes, took a deep breath. When she opened them, there was steel in her gaze. Okay, here's what I need. I need to talk to my father. Explain the situation. Get his blessing. I need 24 hours to process this. And I need you to promise me something. Anything. Promise me that if we do this, you'll continue working on being present for your mother. That this marriage of convenience won't be an excuse to distance yourself again. Because she needs you. And if I'm going to tie my life to this family, I need to know you're committed to being her son, not just her protector. I promise. On my father's grave, I promise. Then ask me again tomorrow night. After I've talked to my father. After I've had time to really think. And we'll see. That's fair. Imani moved toward her room, then paused. Dae-young, for what it's worth, I don't think you're as far gone as you believe. The man who sat with his mother tonight, who listened to her stories, who laughed at her jokes, that's the real you. The rest is armor. Maybe it's time to take some of that armor off. She disappeared into her room, leaving Dae-young alone in the hallway with his thoughts and a hope he hadn't felt in years. The next 24 hours would determine everything. But for the first time since his father died, Dae-young Kim felt like he might be finding his way back to being human again. And it was all because a Nigerian-American caregiver had walked into his house and shown him what love actually looked like. If you've made it this far, thank you for being here. Part 2 is going to be a blast, besties. What do you think Imani should do? Should she accept this marriage of protection? Is Dae-young worthy of a second chance? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button if this story touched your heart. And subscribe because stories like this, stories about unexpected connections, about redemption, about love in its many forms, are what we're all about. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the people who seem the coldest are just the ones who've forgotten how to feel the warmth.